You're standing on a London street in the 1890s, and a carriage rattles past you pulling 6 zebras in harness, driven by a nobleman in a top hat, on his way to Buckingham Palace. It isn't a circus act. It isn't a joke. The zebras trot in step, ears forward, perfectly calm in the middle of a crowded city street, because a wealthy young zoologist named Walter Rothschild spent months breaking them in himself, specifically to prove a point that everyone calling zebras untamable was simply wrong. So if a zebra can be trained to pull a rich man's carriage down a city street, why? In 10,000 years of humans living alongside zebras on the African continent, has there never been a single zebra riding culture, a zebra cavalry, a zebra-drawn plow? Why did the horse conquer the world, and its closest African cousin never leave the herd? Because taming one zebra and domesticating a species turn out to be 2 entirely different problems. And the real answer isn't really about temperament at all. It's coded directly into their biology, and it can very nearly kill them. Start with the explanation most people reach for immediately. Zebras are just mean. And there's real evidence behind that assumption. According to research compiled for the PBS documentary companion to Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel, zebras grow more antisocial with age, and once one bites down, it tends not to let go. A well-placed kick can kill an adult lion, let alone a person. Zoo records repeatedly show zebras injuring American zookeepers more often per year than any other single animal on the property, more than the lions. More than the tigers, a hoofed animal that looks, from the parking lot, roughly as dangerous as a large horse. But Rothschild's carriage proves individual zebras can be managed. So something more specific had to be going on. In 1997, geographer Jared Diamond laid out a fuller framework in Guns, Germs, and Steel. He argued that domestication isn't decided by one trait, it's a checklist. And failing even a single item sinks the entire project, the same way one wrong decision can end an otherwise workable marriage. Run zebras through that checklist, one item at a time. Diet. Do they eat something cheap and abundant? Yes, grass, same as a horse. Growth rate. Do they mature fast enough to be worth raising? Yes. Willingness to breed in captivity? Zebras do this without much trouble. Social structure. Do they live in a hierarchy a human could plausibly step into as leader? Also yes, wild zebra live in stable harems built around one dominant stallion, not unlike a horse herd. 5 criteria down. Cleanly. 1 left. Disposition, and specifically the tendency to panic. That's the box zebras fail, and it isn't a small failure. It's the one Diamond calls decisive on its own. Not diet, not size, not even social structure. One line item, buried near the bottom of the checklist, quietly overruling everything zebras got right. But tendency to panic is a strange thing to blame something on. Panic isn't a personality flaw. It's a nervous system reflex. So, what biologically makes a zebra's panic reflex different from a horse's? In 2024, a research team led by Netson Steklis at the University of Arizona ran the numbers to find out. Using evolutionary modeling across dozens of hoofed species, they identified the real mechanism, something called capture myopathy, an extreme stress response so intense it causes an animal's own muscles to break down from the inside, flooding its bloodstream with the byproducts of its own tissue and shutting down its kidneys. It isn't misbehavior. It's the body's fight or flight system running so hot that the fear itself becomes the injury. The cruelest detail, an animal can appear to calm down, walk away from a capture completely fine, and still die from the internal damage days later. It's a large part of why, even now, wildlife veterinarians treat sedating a wild zebra for transport as a genuinely high-risk procedure. Not because the animal might attack, but because its own body might turn on itself. Here's the part that reframes everything before it. Steklis and her colleagues traced this vulnerability back, roughly 4 million years, to the split between the zebra and horse lineages. Horses' ancestors spread across Eurasia and, later, North America, where they lived alongside direwolves, American cheetahs, and saber-toothed cats, until those predators died off in the mass extinctions at the end of the last ice age, around 11,000 years ago. With the threat gone, the horse lineage's stress reflex cooled down over the following millennia. Zebras never got that break. Lions, hyenas, and African wild dogs kept hunting them continuously, generation after generation, straight through to the present day, without the extinction event that gave horses a reprieve. Zebras didn't fail to evolve a calmer nervous system. They evolved the opposite, on purpose, because a hair-trigger stress response is exactly what has kept them alive, which means the same trait that has kept zebras alive against lions for 4 million years is the exact trait that makes them almost impossible to safely restrain. It isn't attitude. It's a nervous system calibrated so precisely to the presence of a predator that captivity itself can trip the wire. So go back to that London street, and the 6 zebras trotting past in harness, calm under a nobleman's hands. Rothschild wasn't wrong that a zebra could be tamed. Given enough patience and the right handling, one specific animal's stress response can, sometimes, be managed for a lifetime. What he couldn't do, what nobody in 10,000 years of human history has ever done, is breed that calm reliably into the species, generation after generation, the way it was bred into the horse. He wasn't training out bad manners. He was working, alone, against 4 million years of evolutionary pressure that keeps every zebra's body wired for exactly one outcome: survive the lion, right now, no matter the long-term cost. And somewhere on the Serengeti tonight, that same nervous system is still running. Not broken, not badly behaved, just doing precisely the job it was built for, in an animal that was never, ever supposed to slow down long enough to be